I'm going to try to make this as easy and quick as possible.
Okay.
We're going to break it into 2 categories. First one is going to be basically your one-time costs. So this is just the one time that you're paying at the end of close of escrow. You've got your loan, you're going to sign the docs at the title company. What else am I going to be responsible for? So number 1 is going to be your bank or lender fees. Now these are the fees that I would charge you, or a bank like a Wells Fargo, Chase, any conventional lender, to process and obtain the loan. For a generic number, these typically will run about $1,200 to $2,000. Now that's just for your processing, underwriting, credit report, appraisal review things, anything like that.
And generally, these are fixed or variable based on the size of the loan?
Yeah, they are variable based on the size of the loan and the bank you go to.
Okay.
But that's a good generic number to budget for just that. Now, another component on this is whether or not you're paying points. So what a point is it's 1% of the loan amount. Of the loan. And what you're typically paying points down for is to a rate buy down. And what that means is you're basically paying money up front to have a lower monthly payment. Typically what this 1% will do is reduce the rate by, I cannot spell today, by 25 to 50 basis points, which is 1/4% rate to 0.5% rate. This is optional. You do not have to do this. And you determine if that makes sense by just doing a break-even analysis. Very easy. You say, hey, if it costs me $5,000 to save $50 a month, well, I make my money back in 100 months, or 8.3 years. It's not really a good deal, right? Usually within 3 to 5 years, you're going to either be refinancing, taking money out, or moving. So in this scenario, I would not do it. If, let's say, the next year was $5,000 and it saved me $500 a month, well, then I make my money back in 10 months. That's a no-brainer. You would do that all day long, right? So that's your bank fees. The second fees are going to be your title and escrow. Now this is the neutral third party that facilitates a transaction between the buyer and seller. They're making sure that everything is done above board, compliant, and that there's no behind the scenes action going on. This is worth, or usually runs about $5,000 to $6,000 on a 1.25 purchase price. We'll just use that as kind of our benchmark.
1.25 million.
1.25 million. Yeah, not 1.2. I guess could be trillion nowadays. Who knows, or billion. So that's your second component. And then the third one.
And one question on the title and escrow. Commonly those fees are paid for by the buyer, not the seller, right? I mean.
Correct. Yeah. So in normal real estate markets, sometimes they're split 50-50. The Bay Area being so unique and typically being a seller's market the majority of time, the buyer pays for those fees. But that's a very good question. If you were back east or Midwest, it's usually split 50-50. And then the third is the appraisal fee. And again, this is going to be paid to a neutral third party. This is a particular individual that will go out there and make sure that the house, you're not overpaying for it, you're not underpaying for it, and that there's no health or safety issues. These in our area are going to run anywhere between $800 to $1,250, depending on the purchase price. The purchase price is going to dictate the fee that the appraiser charges for this. One thing that's very important with the appraisal, you want to try to make sure that it is someone local that is doing the appraisal. Right. Reason being is because he'll be familiar with the area, the comps, the location, everything that's going to make or justify why this house is selling for that price.
Right. And who dictates the call to the appraisal for them to come out to evaluate the property?
Great question. So the loan officer, or myself,
Right.
orders the appraisal.
Right. So you'll make the call to
Yeah.
the right appraisal partner to make that happen.
Correct. So we no longer are allowed to have direct communication with the appraisers. That changed
Right.
as part of the financial crisis. However, what you make sure is that you have appraisal partners that know the market and work in the area. That is critical, and also critical as a listing agent or a buying agent to question that appraiser when he calls to make the inspection.
Right.
A lot of times you'll get a guy from San Jose coming to appraise a property in Lafayette. It's not a good idea.
Right.
It's not a good idea. So these are your one-time costs. Essentially, the only times you're going to pay these closing costs is when you go to close and sign at the escrow company, and then you're done.